I just love talking about relationships.
All right. All right. And so we got our panel here tonight, and we're going to get into it. So um, um, let's have this conversation tonight, you guys. Right off the bat, let's have this conversation about Love Week. This is Love Week. I'm calling it Love Month. We're going to talk about it all week long, and this is our second talk here, having this conversation tonight. So, for you guys who are here for the first time, join us here each Wednesday of this month of February. I've got a new panel coming through, but this one is our second panel, and we're excited about the conversation. So, the art of attraction and dating done right. Vicky Simmons, you are first up. Talk to us about it. What's your thoughts about attraction and dating and all of this? What's your first thoughts?
Okay, my first thought about attraction and dating is when you're looking at dating and attraction, you want to not waste your time in dating. You really need to look for that person that shares your same goals, that person that has the compatibility with you. Because if you don't, if you have certain goals, if you have a goal that you want to set, you have high goals, and they down here, they have goals that they really don't want to set, and there's no compatibility there,
Mm-hmm.
it'll work. I think you're just wasting your time. So I think if you're for attraction, you need to find someone that you can easily communicate with, someone that shares your same goals, same values, and I think if you do that, it will work.
All right, good stuff, good stuff. Nate, talk to us about it. What's your feelings, your straight first thoughts when it comes to the art of attraction and dating done right?
I think with attraction, especially coming from a man's point of view, men first are appearance driven. So
Okay.
as a
Talk
man,
that talk.
we're gonna look at appearance first. Women, they're not appearance driven. They're like, okay, they're substance driven. So from a man's point of view, when you look at attraction from both sides, you got to be attracted to the person first to like them. You want to be with them as far as a man. But the art of it, I think, when it comes to dating being an art, it's just about becoming who you want to be, so you can attract who you want. If you understand what I'm saying. So it's like I just tell singles all the time, you got to become a husband and a wife in here before you become a husband and a wife. So that's my take.
Okay. Okay. All right. Princess, what's your thoughts on this topic? Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I tend to think outside the box when it comes to this subject in particular. I don't feel there's one right way. I just feel like it's as individual as the two people who are in that relationship at that one given time. Because we as individuals, we tend to be different in each relationship that we're in. And so for me, it's not just one right way, but I do want to piggyback off what Nate said about compatibility. I feel like you do have to be compatible across the board. And that's mentally, spiritually, physically, sexually, just across the board. You have to be compatible. So that's my take on it.
Okay. All right, Sherry, what's your feelings about it? Talk to us.
I want to piggyback off something Nate said. A lot of times we do have what we call a halo effect, where we tend to pick people who we're physically attracted to, and we assume that those people are people that possess the values that we want without even knowing who they are inside. So I think that in order to be more successful in dating, the first thing you need to do is work on yourself from the inside out and put yourself in places where you can attract the kind of person you want. Like if you know you're looking for a Christian man, you don't want to be at the club trying to look for or a Christian woman, you don't want to be at the club trying to look for that person. So putting yourself in places where you can find the person that you're trying to attract. And when I say working on yourself, just having more emotional intelligence, working on your healing. If you know you have past trauma from other relationships, those are some of the things that you need to do before you enter the dating world.
Okay, so I'm gonna throw this one in for Princess. Princess, did you hear what she just said?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna challenge you to push back on that, because she said essentially she said if you're looking for a husband, you don't go to the club. I know people who have found husbands and wives at the club, and they still together today. So what's your thoughts?
Well, my thought on that is, well, it's a duality to that. And
Okay.
let me be clear on my duality to that. I myself have found, well, I'm gonna say my first husband. My first husband I found in the club. I really did. And I told him when we met, he had 2 years, and 2 years, if it wasn't a ring, then I was gone. And in 2 years, he proposed. And I will say to this day, the only reason we got divorced because we got married really young and our lives were going different directions. And he wanted to stay in the marriage. I didn't. I just had different goals for myself. And again, that came from me being really young. But to this day, that man is my best friend. We are still on the same bank account. We still share phone accounts. He says we are the most married, divorced people in this world because we essentially still live a married life. But yeah, so I found him in the club. But also the flip side to that, and this is what I teach my clients, is if you want to meet someone a certain standard, then you do have to place yourself in places where you know where they will be. If you want somebody high quality, then you have to go to places that demands high quality behavior, high quality character, so that you can meet somebody that is high quality, meaning go to these golf clubs, go to these networking events, these industry events, go places like that if you're looking for a certain level of someone. And I mean, and it just goes back to me saying this is individual as the two people, because my second husband had all of those things, but I left because he wasn't emotionally intelligent. So you can meet a man in the church and have some of the most abusive behaviors. I've had to counsel couples like that. You could meet a man on the street corner and he could be the most God-fearing, loving, kind person, and he could help you and you help each other get to where you need to be. And that's why I say it's unique as the two people who are in the relationship.
Okay. You know, when I talk about it, and when I think about this idea of attraction, I really do. You know, attraction. There really is a science to kind of why we are attracted to who we are attracted to. All right. So we, you know, if you think about it, especially when it comes to, I'll start with women first, right? For women often look for the confidence in the man, right? Looking for it's not by accident that you remember the James Dean, you know, the guy shows up on a motorcycle with his leather jacket, you know, snap his fingers, and the women was like, "Oh my gosh, can I ride on your?" You know, it was a sign of bravery. I've known women who loved police officers, love a man in uniform. It's something about that confidence of how he walks, how he enters the room. It just becomes attractive to them. Okay. And for it's obvious for men. Now, men, when it comes to a woman's confidence, I think when they're looking at long term, a man likes, but there's nothing like a woman who got that walk, who got that strut, and knows how to get your attention when she comes in the room. That is very attractive as well. So when it comes to it, confidence is a big one. Energy is a big one. One of the things, ladies and gentlemen, I tell some of my clients that, you know, women judge attraction differently than men, right? A woman will see a guy from across the room and be like, "Oh, hello," right? He's handsome, he's cute or whatever, right? And he's the man all the way until he gets in front of you. And once he gets in front of you and he opens his mouth, that's how you determine whether this guy is a winner or not, right? He can have all the beautiful features that you might like in a guy, but women judge energy quickly, and if the energy is off, you can be like, ugh, you know, oh, look at all that waste. All of that went to waste because his energy was off. So what's your thoughts about that?
Yeah, my thought about that is character. You're right. Character to me is very important. You can see like you said, Calvin, someone they could be dressed to the T, but once that conversation starts and you're hearing that conversation, what's coming out, and sometimes they don't look. They may look. They don't. They look the opposite of what they're talking about. So for me, character is very important. Getting to take my time, slow down and really get to learn the person, learn the inside of the person, the heart of the person. That's what I look, for to know the heart of that person, the character. I mean, you can be dressed really good, but if you don't have, if your inside is not pure and you don't have that quality character, you just, you just won't attract me. Character
So,
is
ladies,
very important.
what about that smooth dude who can camouflage all that? What about that
Well, you'll
dude?
learn, you'll learn eventually through conversation.
Yeah, but
That's
there
why
are dudes out there.
I'm big on communication. I'm big on communication. The more you talk, I say give him a chance. Continue to talk on the phone, get to learn him, and it'll come out.
Yeah,
Trust
you're
me.
right. I was waiting.
The truth will come
I
out.
was waiting to see if you were gonna get to that because I've
Uh-huh.
seen it and I've counseled singles. I used to be a singles pastor at my church back in the day, where it's like, and I tell them all the time, you got to pay attention to his words, but not only his words, you got to pay attention to the actions that follow those words. Because
Right.
a man will be what you want him to be to get what he want, for as long as you allow him to be that. So if you like country music, he'll be a cowboy. If you like hip hop, he'll be a thug, whatever. But the thing is, you said a key thing. You gotta give time, but not so much time. You gotta get to yourself to a point where you can understand and hear the trigger words and hear certain words that he say. Because a man, now I'm married now 12 years, but I used to be that guy. So, that's what I'm talking about. I'm very transparent. I used to be that guy in Norfolk. I used to be that guy. Well, I could say the right things. I grew up in church. I could say the right things for as long as you allow me to. And then, but sooner or later, character is going to come, but you don't want to let it go too long where it comes out to where you're deep in a relationship. So my point is that, yes, character is important. Confidence is important, but you gotta pay attention to what he say and what he does, because his words, there's certain trigger words that he'll say that you gotta pay attention. You can't be so caught up in how handsome he is that you don't pay attention to what he says.
And Nate,
Correct.
if I could just interject for a second, it's like how our elders would tell us in the family, you look once, but listen twice. And
That's
it's
good. I like
not
that.
just about hearing what that person says. You have to pay attention to more than the person. And it's not just men who do it. Women do it all the time too. I was infamous for that throughout my dating life. I was going to be who I got 2 degrees because of people I was dating. Honest to God, I was going to be whoever that man needed me to be so I could get whatever I needed from that man. But I say that to say this: you can't just pay attention to the person. Pay attention to how not only they treat you, but how they treat the people around you, how they treat their family members. Because I've had men who treated me like I was the queen of the world. And I watch how they talk and how they interact with their mother or their father, because both are important to me. How they interact with their children, with their colleagues. I watched it all, because you can show me your representative like a lot of us do when we show up at work. We show them our representative a lot of times, but then we're the real us when we go home. So I look at the representative that you're showing up to me as, but also who are you when you're around everybody else? Who are you when you're around your close circle? How do you react in different situations? I look at all of that now, but it has to be more than just looking at how that person treats you, talks to you, because even that is not going to just tell you who that person is.
You're absolutely
And I
right.
agree with a little bit what you're saying, Princess. But I want you. I know you were saying that you would be whatever that man would want you to be, but To me, I believe in just being honest and open at the beginning, because if you're not, that can kind of lead to a failed relationship. You know,
Mhm.
you're trying to be what you think he want you to be instead of being who you are. You know, and
Right.
then that's how you kind of, I guess, attract the wrong person. That's why I go back to what I was saying from the beginning. You have to know who you're compatible with. You have to know your goals, who, you know, your values. The guy that values align with yours, so that relationship can last. Because if
Oh,
you're trying to play like, you know, you're trying to pretend you're something that you're not, that
but but
relationship is not
but
going
wait
to
a
last.
minute.
I
Wait
believe
wait
in
a minute,
being
Sher.
honest. Hmm.
But wait a minute, Sherry.
Uh-huh.
Now, you are a married woman and a woman who counsels. Okay, let me ask you something. Isn't there a measure of kind of the expectation that a person, let's say a woman, has to have when she becomes a wife? Like, isn't there something of the role? Like she said, she became whatever it was that he needed her to become. So
Yes, and
like
for some
I
people,
know on the outside, like that sounds like, oh, that's terrible. But isn't there's something to that? What's your thoughts?
yes. And in marriage, when we are dating, it's different than becoming. And becoming a wife means sometimes taking on the role of wanting to be some of the things that your mate wants in that relationship. It doesn't mean abandoning yourself. It means abandoning yourself as in the dating world and becoming a wife, becoming what a wife is to be, whatever that role is, whatever you two decide that role is. And it's a game, and that's why I invite people in the dating world to get past the surface questions, get past the small talk, and get to some of those deep dive into those questions about, you know, their past and their past relationships. I know it's taboo. A lot of people don't want to talk about their past relationships or failed relationships or things they want to do in the future. Men may think that's moving too fast, but hey, I want to know, like, what are some of the things that happened in your past relationship that you would do differently? What are some of the mistakes you made? Have you learned from them? I go deep really quick, you know, so I think it's important to get past that surface level so you can hear those trigger words, so you can know, you know, what happened in the past and how that person moves. You got to see the way that person moves, and you're not going to see that just with those surface level questions.
And Sherry, I like that you said that, because my wife, her first question to me on our first date was, "What's your vision for your life?"
Mm.
And if I wasn't able to spit it out, it wasn't going no further. And then she said to me, "In order for me to go out with you to date you, we got to go to a financial class, and we got to go to premarital counseling before we even talk about getting engaged." Because she wanted to know, okay, what's the trigger words? What's the red flags? You know, those things. And because she did that, it's why we're still together now, because that made me say, okay, I gotta step up now. You know, I'm not sure who that is. I had been becoming. What's your wife's name? Siri, stop. I'm sorry. I had been becoming uh, you know, making myself to become a husband, you know, before I got married. But when she did that, that set me on another level. Like, man, I gotta step up, because when you are confident, you do that to a man. Men are gonna do one or two things with that. They're gonna run, or they're gonna step up, because they want. If it's easy for him, he's gonna keep going for it. But if you make him work in the beginning, he's either gonna work or he's gonna step away.
And if it's
Yeah.
somebody you really want to be with, you will find yourself becoming some of the things that you may have even said you would never do or never
I would
be.
never.
Because that person is the person for you. So you'll find yourself doing things that you never thought you would do.
Mhm.
And that's what makes
Mhm.
a successful relationship, a successful marriage. You know, when you say, okay, he wants this, that's not something I do, but let me give an inch, let me try it. Or she wants this, no, I don't do it, but let me try it. Let me compromise, because marriage is not 50-50, it's 100-100. You know,
Right.
sometimes
Yeah.
she may give 70, I got 30. I may give 70, she got 30. But it's a part of going and say, okay, this is my mate. I love them. I'm
Yeah.
willing to sacrifice what I say I would never do for them. Now, if it's something that's going to hurt you or something, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying,
Right.
is sometimes you got to say, okay, let me try, because you may find out you like what they like.
Yeah.
For instance,
Yeah.
my husband never cooked before we met. And when I first talked to his family and I told him, I said, well, he's a really good cook. He cooked me this, and that. They were like, huh? Like he cooks? And I was like, yeah, he cooks for me all the time. And he's the baby out of 6. So they were like, they started laughing like, what did he cook? Like I know he didn't cook anything. I'm like, yeah, he cooks for me all the time. And they're like, wow, like that's profound, because we never saw him cook anything.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. Let's talk a little bit about this magnetic attraction, y'all. We talking about the art of attraction, and I think that there is something to it that, and I think this is a learnable skill, right? I think as we're talking about whether you're single or married, right? Because if you're married, you got to keep this fire going. You know, I hear a lot of people, a lot of kind of my peers in the dating coach world and all these guys, a lot of them talk a lot about getting a woman, right? They talk about all the things, getting a woman and, you know, hollering at this one and you know, having a mouthpiece and, you know, all this stuff. And very few people talk about how do you keep this fire alive? You know, how can you have a relationship that go beyond 2 weeks, beyond 2 months, 2 years? You know, can you make it to a 10-year relationship? You know, and so I think a lot of these things that we're going to talk about here tonight are things that you not only have to be able to attract a mate, but you have to be able to keep attracting that mate and keep that attraction alive. And so one of the things I want to talk about is body language. You know, sometimes your body language can tell somebody whether you're interested or not, right? I tell some of my clients, look, I know you're going to the gym, work out with one earphone in and one earphone out, because both earphones in is the universal sign to leave me alone. It's the universal sign. I don't want to be bothered, but you might actually want to have a conversation and want somebody to be able to come up to you. And so sometimes your how you move, how what you know, how you, even for men, a woman can identify a man who is timid, scared, nervous, you know what I mean, just from your body language. And women are always judging body language anyway, you know. So what's your thoughts on that one?
Well, I'll go ahead and go. So, with the keeping it alive part, that's like one of the things that I absolutely love to talk about in my profession. And I use the analogy a lot, like your cell phone charger and your phone. We use our phone daily. And in order to continue to use it, we have to either throughout the day or at least at night recharge our phone. We have to plug it into its power source and recharge it. And you have to take that over to your relationship as well. We use our spouse, or if you're just dating, our partners daily, whether it's for conversation, for emotional support, mental support, financial support, whatever. We use our partners daily. And so we have to recharge them as well. You can't, it's nothing on this earth you can constantly use without it needing to be replenished or recharged. And how do you do that? Well, it's different for different people. For some people, it's just conversation. For some people, it's physical touch. For some people, it's sexual. So it's just about learning your partner and knowing exactly who your partner is, and then recharging them and replenishing them in the way that they need to be so that you can continue to rely on your partner. That's how you keep it alive. As far as attracting in the first place, I think it comes down to commanding, not demanding. And I'd say it's a huge difference in that. When you walk into the room and you're being demanding, it's put offish. You know, it's a turnoff for people. But if you walk into the room, and it does come down to body language, And I don't know if it could be taught to everybody. As my mom would say, like, you got it, you just got it. Some people just have it. It's not something that they were taught. It was something they was born with. Some people you can teach it to a little bit, but it's not the same. It has to be authentic.
I
So
think it's a learnable skill. I think it's a learnable skill, and it's you have to recognize that you need the skill, right?
you need it, but you have to have the confidence with it. You have to have the confidence, because if you're not doing it with confidence, then that comes off as inauthentic, and it's a put off. Like, people can read right through that. So you have to come in, like, fix yourself up, look sexy for your partner, whether you're the man or the woman. It's like, it's not much, just even if you could just put your hair back in just a slick ponytail, and it don't take much makeup, just a little eyeliner. That's it. Like, look sexy for your partner. The same thing you did to attract that person, keep doing it so that you can continue to attract them.
I think, though, I agree with Kelvin, and I agree with you too, Princess, that it can be a learned behavior, but also you learn the confidence once you get it, once you learn the way. Because that woman who's learning how to walk and be confident, she don't have it yet, but the first time that right guy holler at her, it's like, oh snap, and then she do it again. Another guy holler, oh snap, again. Like I was the not say the nerd in high school, but I was that guy who couldn't holler at a girl if you paid me, But when I learned it and I got in college, it was like, oh, the ratio of women and men is 20-1.
Oh, it was crazy.
Oh snap! Let me get this down pat.
It was crazy.
It was crazy, And then I was in the band. I was in the drum line. The drum line gave me confidence right there. So but you build that confidence, and then once you build that confidence, it helps you. And like with the body language, I think body language can be good and it can be bad. Like for me, I've been married to my wife going on 12 years. When I come home, my wife's body language will tell me if she needs comforting. Her body language will tell me if it ain't happening tonight, Doc. Her body language tell me if she had a rough day, or her body language tell me she's glad to see me, and we're gonna have some fun. Or her body language like, get these kids, leave me alone, I'm going in the room. So it's a learning thing. You have to learn how to use your body language for the right reasons and the right people.
All right, good. Go ahead, Sherry.
For me, I would say, and this is to the women who, because it's a lot of boss women in Atlanta. It's a lot of women who per se have prestigious careers. And me being a police captain, I would say the biggest thing to do is know your role. And what I mean by that is my role as a wife is different from my role at work. So I have to know how to turn that off. I make decisions all day, and I'm a boss. But at home, I have to know how to say, let me tell you, when I was dating, I know how to change tires. I know how to change oil. I know how to do all of those things. But I knew the kind of man I wanted to attract. So guess what I had to do? I had to play the role. And what I mean by that is, oh, baby, can you come change my tire? Even though I know how to do it. I found myself making a lot of mistakes in my early dating years, because I would say, oh, I know how to change a tire. I don't need a man to change my tire, or I don't need a man to do this or a man to do that. But that's not the kind of man I wanted to attract. I wanted to attract a man who would do those things. So I had to learn what my role was as a woman. And even at home now, I have to know what my role is and play that role. And another thing I have to do is find peace within myself, so I don't depend on somebody else to be my peace. So I had to find peace within myself before I get home. And if that means taking a minute, like you said, Dr. Holloway, taking a minute to myself and showing my mate that, hey, I don't want to be bothered this month, but I'm going to come back to you later on and we're going to pick up where we left off. Then sometimes you have to do that, but finding that peace within yourself and knowing your role would be two of the things I would say helped me a lot.
Yeah. You know, something else too that I think it's important to have the conversation with. We're still talking about attraction, right? Eye contact. People don't know how powerful eye contact is, right? I used to know a woman who she didn't dress sexy. She didn't there was nothing low cut. There was nothing, right? But she had a way with her eyes that she could look at a she could literally like flirt with you with her eyes without saying a single word. Like she just understood that eye contact. And so this is one of the things I talk to my clients about is you, man, listen, you don't know how powerful, especially a woman's eyes. You don't know how powerful a woman's eyes is. You're in the place. Let's say you're in the lounge and you make eye contact with a person, holding that gaze, and then that whole look away, that whole, they call it stealing his heart away. It's the holding of the gaze. And if for some people they're very uncomfortable like with eye contact. So if there's somebody who needs some practice on this, go to the mirror and hold your own gaze for as long as you can. It helps train you to notice the eyeballs. You'll notice how round the eyes are and the shape of the eyes and the color of the eyes. Look, we got people that you look at all the time. You don't know what color their eyes are because you don't, sometimes you don't really look at them. Even your own mate, you don't even really look at their eyes, And so I think that's a powerful tool, being able to use your eyes for attraction and to make that connection.
And that's what I wanted to add.
We call that soul gazing.
Wait, what was that?
I said in our field, we call that soul gazing. Like
soul
when
gazing.
we with couples, sometimes we'll have them sit like opposite of each other and just stare at each other's eyes for a minute and just hold that gaze for 60 seconds. And it's to build that connection.
That's good.
So they jump on each other.
and that's what I wanted to add about the body language part. I'm big on that. I'm big on, like you said, Kelvin, with the eye contact. Now, gentlemen, a lot of times you may be at work, gentlemen come in the office. Now, if they addressing me with their eyes, got this flirtatious look, that's going to turn me off because it makes me think from the beginning that this is just probably what you possibly just have your mind. I know y'all say looks is the first thing that attracts a guy, but to me that's a big turnoff. If you're gonna come to me, I definitely look at that body language and I'm gonna look in your eyes and I'm gonna see whether or not you're really interested in really trying to get to know who I am and really trying to start that relationship so that we can build something and go from there. So eye contact is very big for me.
So wait a minute, Vicky. So you trying to tell me if this guy finds you attractive and he look at you like a piece of meat, does that mean wait a minute, does that automatically mean that this can't be something?
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it can kind of turn you off a little bit. I'm not saying that it can go somewhere, but understand it could just be a kind of turn off when you're looking at this guy and you're looking in his eyes and it looks like you can tell, from a guy's eye, whether or not now I may be wrong, but to me, this is me. I can kind of look and tell when, in the guy's eye, whether or not they're really meaning some business.
You got a skill set.
I mean, it's just me.
Well, as someone who has always been told that I have a sexual gaze, I don't know why, because my eyes are small and slanted. And anytime I look at anybody, I'm telling you, everybody that looks at you that way doesn't look at you as a piece of meat. Sometimes that's just how they look.
But that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, you can tell when they first come into the room, body language is very important, and you can really tell some guys that just look like, they give you that little look like, and you can kind of tell, oh no, I can tell this is not gonna go anywhere. I don't know. I guess I just have that discernment where I can tell that it just look like it's just not gonna go anywhere.
Well,
And whereas someone comes in and they come in, they're like, okay, I think that, I want to get to know who you are. I think when they actually kind of ask you about who you are, what's your likes and your dislikes are, get to know you, then that's the kind of person that I think I'm more prone to go and really want to start a relationship with, is someone just coming in, just looking like, I like her. I like that person that's going to come in and try to start a conversation and get to know who I am,
can
try
I
to
give you
see
a
who
piece of
I
advice?
am. That's who I'm prone to be attracted to. That's
So
just
on
me.
that,
Yeah.
like I said before, men are appearance driven. We're gonna check you out
Uh-huh.
first. We're looking at you first, and we're gonna look you up and down. And it may look like that he's undressing you. Sometimes they may be, sometimes they're not. But they're thinking and they're wondering. Men look and wonder on your appearance. A lot of times we're not really thinking about what your heart is off the top. We're checking you out, because that's going to tell me whether I want to holler at you or not, depending on
You're
how
looking at
you
a
look.
heart out, right?
I'm going to try this to
But
you.
don't you think that play a big part as well? I mean, don't you
But
think you should?
here's what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying. So you
Uh-huh.
get with him, right? You start dating him, you marry him.
Mm-hmm.
Tell you, when my wife come in the room, my wife can have on overcoat, and I'm looking at her like, dang girl. I'm undressing her. But I'm looking at her. But I gaze at my wife like that, because what's going to happen is he's going to do that. So if you get married, are you gonna tell it could be turned off if he look at you like that when y'all married?
Well, that's different because
That's
you're married.
different.
That's different. I'm talking
But
about that first,
but
that
that's who he
first,
is.
that first moment.
But that first
That
look
first
is going to tell him whether he want to holler or not. See, you
Well,
could miss out on a good one just
yeah.
by being turned off by the way he. Now, if he look at you, he coming in like.
You
That's
got
a
to think
different
about
story.
it like this, Miss Vicky. Men are naturally hunters, and so if you ever watch any kind of animal channel and you see animal as they get ready to get their prey, they circle and they look, and it doesn't mean necessarily that they're trying to in a sexual manner, but they're checking out their prey. They want to see if you're strong. They want to see if you're weak. They're checking you out.
Right, and
So
that's where conversation comes. That's why I say conversation, building that conversation, getting to know that person. Where do you start? I mean, after the look, where do you start? You have to start somewhere. After you
Yeah.
come in and you give them that look, then what's the next start to see whether or not this is actually going to go somewhere?
Start
Yeah.
the
What do
conversation.
I mean,
what's the next
look,
start?
look. I get what you're saying, right?
Yes.
But here's another perspective on this. Never punish a man for finding you sexually attractive. Okay, he's a man, you're a woman, and like Nate said, if y'all actually get together, you actually want him to be sexually attracted to you. And for a lot of men, the sexual attraction happens right away. So if he see what he like and he like what he like, then he makes the next move, which is the conversation, which you did. Now, some guys, yes, they could be creepy and overbearing and be doing too much. Okay.
Yes.
Girl.
But
Yes. That's what I'm talking about.
okay,
That's what I'm talking
but never punish a man for finding you sexually attractive, which is in his nature to do.
His nature.
about.
It's in his nature to do. So yeah. But yeah, anything can be done, can be overdone.
Right.
But just like you want him, let's say it goes further and this guy does ask to marry you, you want him to have that same fire and that same look in his eyes that he had when he met you.
Yes.
And you don't want that to diminish. And so I think that's good. You know, another thing that I really want to touch on, and this is one that we started with on last week with attraction, and that whole magnetic attraction is the importance of self-care, and self-love, right? You can see when a person loves themselves. It's an attractive thing. I knew a woman one time who was this lady didn't have to say a word. Like, it was obvious that she loved being her. Like, she played around, she did her hair, and like she had different kinds of things happening with her hair, and her outfit. Like, she played with color. Like, she'd have on this kind of lipstick today and this other thing and mascara tomorrow, and like all these different things. And it was obvious that she loved herself, and she found herself attractive, right? So then she went to the gym. She invested in a trainer. I tell all my clients, look, get yourself a trainer and commit to him for a whole year, right? If you're looking for the guy and you haven't found the guy, we talking about the art of attraction, right? Get yourself a trainer and commit to working with somebody for a whole year to get to bring out your best self. You want to present your best self to the man of your dreams, and it's amazing how you begin to attract him as he sees how you love on yourself. So then it tells him how he should love on you. Yeah. So what y'all think? What's your thoughts?
I love that idea because I'm one of the people who is big on don't ask the universe for what you want, attract from the universe what you want. And one of the things for me is on Sundays, I dedicate that to God. Like, that's me and God's day is non-negotiable. Phones off, TV off, everything. And that's my time where I sit and meditate with God. But then I also do at least one weekend a month where it's either get a cabin or I do a staycation just to get away and see something different. Within the city, it doesn't have to always be extravagant. You could have a place, a room dedicated in your own house, but you have to have those self-care moments. Like, my spa dates with myself are non-negotiable. My self-time is non-negotiable because I use that time to regenerate myself and replenish myself. And it makes all the difference. Like, people see how you love on yourself. They see how you treat yourself, and they are attracted to that. And it's like, I just tell people, I would never want to be anything or anybody else in this world other than exactly who I am. Because I love me some me, and not in a conceited way, but just in the way that, or let me see how I explain it to my children. I tell them all the time, when you look in that mirror, God says that we're made in his image. And if you think of God as nothing other than perfect and perfection, and if we're made in his image, why are you not looking at yourself that way? So I want to see me how God sees me. And I love me how God loves me. And it shows, and it does make a difference.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff.
I
agree. Go ahead. Y'all go.
Yeah, I agree. Self-love is very important because when a person, they can actually see, I agree with what Princess said, because a person can actually see if you really care about yourself, if you really value who you are. Because if you don't really value who you are, you don't care about yourself, and you just talk about anything, your conversations are not goal driven, they can see that. And they can kind of take advantage and say, oh, this person don't really have that much self-love. So self-love is very important. You have to, like I said, you do have to take care of yourself. You have to take the time to go out and, enjoy yourself. First, you have to learn how to be comfortable with yourself. You have to learn how to be comfortable with yourself first before you can actually start being comfortable and dating with someone else. So that self-love is very important.
Well, I got a few years before I can have some self-love. I got a 9-year-old and a 2-year-old. My self-care is running behind them. No, but my self-care for me, my dad had a model. His model was looking good and smelling good. You couldn't walk past him and didn't have on cologne. Your socks had to match something in your tie. something, you had to match. This day, my wife laughed at me because I got like 9 different bottles of cologne sitting on the counter. You know, it's like, how do you wear all those? But that's, you know, and I teach that to my sons. But I never.
You only got 9. you
Hey,
a little light there, brother. You a little
I
light.
know, man. I know. Oh, I ain't counting the little sample bottles. So, but I'm working there. I'm working there. But I didn't really learn about the self-care, like getting massages and all that stuff, until I met my wife. My wife is a stickler on self-care or herself. And sometimes she has to make me, baby, you need to go get your feet done. You need to go get a massage. You need to go do this. And I'm learning that sometimes that helps with your mental health. You know, it helps with your day. It helps when you got a strenuous job, or when you just need a break. Sometimes, you know, you need a break from the family. You need a break, not that you don't want to be around them, but you just need a break. Just go and get some quiet time. You know, and I'm getting into having my break could be outside playing on a drum set. You know, that's quiet time for me. It ain't quiet, but that's my stress relief. But I'm learning that even as a man and just as people in general, for our mental health, we gotta have that self-care. Whether it's like Princess said, she go get a cabin somewhere in the city and just chill, you know, just sitting down and just, you know, it helps.
Yeah. One of my self-cares that I'm talking about, you're gonna hear me talk about it on every show, is I had a breakthrough this past summer where I started the practice of journaling. Now, I've bought journals, wrote one thing in them, and sat it to the side. Okay, but during the summer, I took the time and dedicated and got into the practice. So the practice means it's something I do every single day. Come out of the bathroom, boom, go get my coffee, and go to that round table, and I set my alarm and grab that pen. I have emptied 4 pens from start to finish. You know, y'all know how I'm like, I even teared up a little bit, you know, when I did that, and it might seem like nothing, right? But have you ever started a pen and ended with that same pen when there's nothing left in it? That to me, that meant that represented consistency, right? And I've got 4 journals that are full of my thoughts, my prayers, my aspirations, my failures, my hurts, my, all of that is written down. And so I'm encouraging all the men, hit Burlington, hit Ross, TJ Maxx, any of these closeout stores, flip that, go over there and get one of them books, and you look at the price, get the most expensive one for the lowest price. Right? And make it a practice, because your life is worth recording.
And I like that, because I noticed you said that last time on your last session about journaling. And I like that idea, and I thought about it. I started it, but I kind of stopped a little bit. I also used to do like vision boards as well. But I said, I think I probably would start back doing that daily. So as this year, whatever I write down where I'm at in the stage of my life, then next year I may be in a different stage, and I can go back and say, okay, hey, look what the Lord has done for me this year from that last year. So that's something that I heard you talk about last time, and I think I need to start back. I like that idea, because it gives you something that you can go back and look on and see what you may need to improve on, or what, see how far you have actually come from the past year. So I do like the idea of journaling.
Yeah, you know what? There's so much for you to write about. Like I wrote about, what I write about? I wrote something about today about when I was a little kid, and like one of my first memories. And, I've written about my sister and I having a birthday party in our old house. And, I've written about the death of my brother when it came his birthday. And all these things, these important memories that have never been written down. And it comes to my mind all the time. I'm like, oh man, I never wrote about that this very important thing that happened in my life, there's no written record of it. So I'm challenging everybody who watches this show to get a journal and begin the practice of journaling?
Well, one thing I want to say to you, Kevin, and I commend you for journaling. I love that. I journal often. I've been journaling for a while, but we do need to see more men pick up that practice. So I really congratulate you on that. But you said something very powerful, and it reminds me of one of the mantras I live by the late Dr. Miles Monroe, died empty. So
Yeah.
when you were saying that it was nothing left in that pen, what it represented for me was you emptying yourself out. In essence, as Dr. Miles Monroe would talk about dying and empty, giving all of yourself before you leave this earth. And I just felt that was so powerful.
Wow. I never thought of that. That's great. That's great. That's great.
You up here quoting Dr. Miles. We about to have church up in here.
Yeah, that's good stuff right there. Yes. And I think that's powerful. And so look, maybe you guys have do you have a personal growth practice that you can share that will make somebody more attractive and raise their attraction factor?
You see, a
With
personal
the personal
growth.
growth, I think you have to. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, no,
I
go ahead,
think
Ms. Simmons.
Okay. I think with personal growth, that goes again with really knowing what your goals are you want to accomplish in life, and maybe possibly sharing that with the person that you may be in relationship with, and they can see where you wanting to go, what your goals are, and they can just kind of see where you are and where you want to grow and where you want to go. So I definitely think that personal growth comes with setting goals, and like you said, writing it down, whatever your goals are, and getting to the point where you actually want to share that with your partner so that they can possibly help you accomplish that goal, and they can see what goal you want, and y'all could possibly work on that together.
Yes.
But one of the things that I do as my personal growth goal is I attend therapy myself. Even being a therapist, I have my own therapist. And even if you can't get your mate to go to therapy, just being the best version of yourself, because you can't change your mate, but if you show up the best version of yourself, that's the best level of self-care that you can give to someone. Because sometimes you'll find yourself with that person and that person may not change or whatever, but if you just show up as the best version of yourself, sometimes that person will be like, gosh, well, I see the growth in that person, and maybe I need to do something about myself. Even if they don't attend therapy, maybe they'll see how you're moving and move accordingly. So that's what I've done for myself as a therapist. I've got myself a therapist.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. One of the things that and we've kind of peppered through this conversation, the another issue that I think helps a person become more attractive is effective communication, right? Vicky said it depends on how this man presents himself will depend on what happens next, right? If he roll up here acting goofy and creepy, then that's it. We're not going no further, right? But if he presents, she said, it's how he presents his words. What he says with his words will determine on what happens next. So
Right.
I think this whole idea of effective communication, there's something called the 90-10 rule, listening 90%, talking 10%. So just having that slow to speak and quick to hear mentality really is effective. So what's your thoughts on effective communication for attraction in dating and relationships?
I believe that communication is the foundation, first and foremost. So when clients come to me, that is one of the things, well, not one of, that is the thing that I begin with. Again, like I'm a public health sexologist. I do counseling for couples. I do sex therapy. I'm actually in part getting my ASIC sex therapy certification. I already have the counseling ASIC behind me. But one of the things that I teach the couples are you have to start with that communication. That is the foundation of all. And we initially, when they first come to me, go through 3 weeks of pure communication skills. Because without the communication skills, I can sit and I can counsel for 12 weeks to a year. But if we do not tackle communication first, it's not going to go anywhere. And you're going to walk out the door with the same issues that you walked in my door with. So again, that goes back to learning your partner, learning their love languages. And I like to say that intimacy is the lost love language. It starts with intimacy, first self-intimacy, and something I like to call intimate prosperity, where you're learning yourself and you're having those intimate moments with yourself and finding out who you are, what are your boundaries, and all of the things, and setting those things firm before you get into relationship. And once you're in a relationship, then the intimacy with the partner. And I'm not saying physical, I'm saying starting with true intimacy, like the deeper questions. What was your first view on love? How did you learn about love? What shaped the way that you look at love now? How was your parents' relationship? How did it affect you? Like the deeper questions. I don't care what a person color is, not until I have to buy them a gift. But if you're going to be in my life, I need to know these basic things about you. And so the communication is key. And through communication is how you learn how to love your partner and their love language. And that's where a lot of people get it wrong, because a lot of people are busy loving their partner in the way that they want to receive love instead of the way that their partner needs to receive love. And it all starts with communication.
And I
All right, good
agree.
stuff.
I agree. We kept kind of Kevin and I did a series on dating fatigue, and that was one of the main things that I said was at the top of the list, the communication. To me, that is very critical. Communication, being able to communicate and let the person know your feelings, your thoughts. Because I shared on an earlier show that we did about, with me, getting on the phone, actually talking to that person on the phone, getting to hear the conversation before even going out on the date, before even seeing if this person is even worth going out on the date, because you can hear about those conversations on the phone, with what you're sharing on those phone calls. And if he's sharing something that's draining me or something that I know it's not going to work, I'm not going to even take that chance to even go out. So with that person, so I say communication is very key, and it definitely is critical. And that's something that I really look upon. And I say, get to know that person, get to conversate before you even see whether it's even worth to make that next move.
Good
Yeah, a
stuff.
lot of marriages and relationships. Go ahead, Sherry. Ladies first. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, communication is very important. I like to see with couples, like, what do you do when there's miscommunication? What do you do when the communication fails? How do you react when there's a disagreement? Sometimes communication fails, and so even two people who know how to effectively communicate, sometimes they have disagreement. So knowing what that looks like as well, and how you navigate throughout those times as well.
Yeah, a lot of marriages, relationships, friendships break up because of whether it's no communication, wrong communication, things like communication is important. I have to go to the scripture on this one. Proverbs 18:20 says, a man's moral self shall be filled with the fruit of his mouth, and with the consequence of his words, he must be satisfied, good or evil. There's two words in there that's important: shall and must. You're getting by how you communicate is what you get. If in marriage, if a husband comes in the house, let's say a wife makes the house a home, but the husband sets the atmosphere with his mouth. So if I come in the house and I'm coming in the house fussing all the time, or if my wife come in the house fussing all the time, that's the atmosphere set. That's our communication. But then it into arguments. But my wife and I, what we do, we have honesty sessions. And what an honesty session is that, well, when she say, babe, I need an honesty session, I know I'm in trouble for something. But what an honesty session is that she speaks her heart. When she talks, I have to listen, but I can't respond in defense. I have to respond with a solution. So I have to communicate solution to her, and then when it's my turn, she has to do the same thing. So what that causes, because while she's communicating, because communication is not just talking, it's listening too.
Mm.
So when she's communicating with me, when she's talking and she's telling me, sharing her heart, I have to listen because I have to communicate back to her a solution on how we can fix this issue. So I think communication, relationships, whether it's marriage, dating, friendships, is a two-way thing because you have to communicate and you have to listen. That's all a part of communication. You get what you, I don't want to say you get what you say. Well, in other words, you do get what you say. How you say it and what you say determines what you get back.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, one of the things that men often have to work on is our communication. Now, when we see Miss Vicky over there walking through the office, we can just we can spit that yak and be like, "Hey, you looking good in your pink today? Oh, I see you over here." Making her smile and all of that, right? But then once you in a relationship with Miss Vicky, right, she's now going to be expecting, oh, you had plenty of compliments before, you know, when I walked through the office before we got together. So now where's all that communication? And for a lot of us men, a lot of men, we under communicate so far. Look, I'm in the talking business. Right? I'm a speaker. This is my panel, right? My wife said yesterday, she said, you know, you need to learn how to communicate. she told me I don't communicate enough. She told me I under communicate, and I already know that as a man, right? And so I try to over communicate, and when I try to over communicate, guess how far I go? Here's the line of communication. I'm like barely hitting up here. and I'm intentionally over communicating. Look, when we had this, when I set up this panel for y'all, right? Y'all see how many messages I sent y'all? how many emails and messages and all of this? You know why I do that? I did all of that because I know that I have a tendency as a man to under communicate. And I know that the more I communicate with you, the more you realize what's going on, what's the deal. You don't have to ask, where's the link? Where's it? Do you need this? Do you need that? I'm going to ask you for everything because I have to over communicate just to make sure that I'm fully understood.
Yeah.
But sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes, I mean, you know, I'd rather for you to over communicate than under communicate.
That's a fact.
You know, because at least you're getting the information out there. And I do want to piggyback on to that. Still, I know we're still talking about the communication part. I at one point I was out with someone, and we were actually out, and that's really big. Like I said, going back to that eye contact, really seeing whether you're listening to me. If you're in your phone, you're distracted, you're looking around the room and all that, you're not really looking at me, you're not giving me that eye contact. That's no communication to me. That's just a turn off. That makes me think that, hey, you're not interested in making this move any further. You know, I need you to be right here. I need you to be able to hear what I say, and I want to hear what you say, so that we can both see whether or not we got this attraction toward each other.
Yeah, that's good. Mm-hmm. What were you gonna say, Faye?
One quick thing before we move on from communication, I wanted to go back to what Miss Sherry said, but also something that Nate said, where Miss Sherry was speaking about when communication doesn't go right. Like, it's not going to always just be easy peasy when you're trying to communicate with your partner. And one of the things that Nate was saying was about the husband setting the atmosphere, which I 100% agree. But there's going to be times that your husband or your wife comes in the house from work or has had a hard day and doesn't have the capacity in that moment to set a peaceful, calm atmosphere because they're stirred up in the spirit from something that has happened external of your household. And that's when, as a wife and as a partner, that you have to step up and set that atmosphere. And it goes back to knowing your partner, like knowing what's going to calm them, knowing what's going to ring them back in, and making sure that your atmosphere at home is peaceful, so that when your husband does come home and he's in one of those modes and he doesn't have the capacity to sit the atmosphere, so to speak, that you as the wife have the ability to bring him back in, so that the atmosphere in your household isn't disrupted from something that happened external.
Yeah, that's good. That's good stuff. Good stuff. Hey, let's talk about red flags and green flags in this art of attraction and dating. What are some red flags that people need to pay attention to? Maybe you've heard it from some of your clients or people, or you've experienced it yourself. Like, what are some red flags that tell you, this is a no-go, and this is not going to work?
I can tell you right now, self-centeredness. If you're always talking about you know what you want, what you like, it's always about you, and you're not open to hear what your partner has to say, what their goals are. You're not interested in listening to their heart or hearing from their heart. It's just all about you. I think that's a big red flag, because I don't see how we just got to move, because if we move into this relationship, I feel like it's going to be all about you. I feel like you're not going to take me seriously on what I feel or what I believe or what I think, because it's all about you. So I would say self-centeredness is the number one red flag.
Good stuff. Who else?
I would say love bombing.
Yes.
Okay.
What was that? Say it again.
Love
Talk
bombing.
about it.
When
Love
you know
bombing.
you're dating someone and it's really early and they already tell you they love you, they want to marry you, you're their world, and you don't even really know that person yet, that's a red flag.
Yes.
I think
I-
that depends.
yes.
I think that depends though. Because my wife and I, we've been married 12 years, going on 12 years. We were talking about the wedding in 6 months. So,
well, if you sometimes, but if y'all was talking about the first week,
that's a different story.
There's some heavy love bombers in our area. I can tell you that right now. Like, if
I
you
would
talk,
say love bombing too, but I wouldn't put a time on it, because the most successful marriage I've ever seen in my entire life, outside of the elders in my family, is my sister and my brother-in-law. They literally, my brother-in-law proposed to my sister in 2 weeks of meeting her. They just celebrated 37 years of marriage. They have raised 3 beautiful, successful children, and they are still very close, tight knit as a family. They still do family trips every year for Mother's Day. They still go to church together. My niece helps out at my sister's spa, like right there in Morrow. Shameless plug. Pamper Me Total Beauty, y'all go. But no, seriously, the most successful relationship. Now, I would say that is not the norm. And love bombing is a red flag, but just in their instance, and the reason why I don't say a time limit with love bombing, because not only my sister, I've seen other relationships. She's just the closest relationship to me where I've seen the inside, behind the closed doors, the outside of it, and know that it's authentic, it's God-fearing, and that it just worked. And he was a UPS driver. She was working at JCPenney catalog. She was 19. They met in a workshop class together for the company, some type of workshop they were doing for the vendors in JCPenney. And he proposed 2 weeks later, was married to her 2 months later. And again, they just celebrated 37 years of marriage. So I don't put a time with it. But there's a long list of red flags, like when you're walking around unhealed, when they have issues with either parent, whether it's their mother or their father, the way that they treat their co-parent if they have children, the way that they treat their children, if they show up and they lack a plan or they don't have ambition, if they don't care for themselves, like they're disheveled and they're not clean. It's a long list. The list could go on and on of red flags.
All right. All right.
But the question becomes,
No,
go
no,
ahead,
no,
Kevin.
no. I want Sherry to rebut what you said, because I know she got something to say about that. Go ahead, Sherry.
There are instances where that when two people meet each other, that's why I said, if you heard what I said before, if you know, you know, there are times when you know that a person is for you, but when it's one-sided, love bombing is usually by one person showing and throwing affection on another person, and that other person is not there yet. Love bomb is not when two people say, okay, I'm attracted to you, you're attracted to me, let's do this thing. No, normally when it's love bombing, it's that one person showering that other person with all this affection and love, and that other person is not in the same space yet. So if you know, you know. If you know a person is for you, I met my husband online. The first day we got online, the first time we talked online, guess what? We deleted our profiles and we got offline, and we've been together since. So if you know, you know. But had he just been saying all this stuff, and I'm like, oh, hold on now, because we're not there yet, and it continued, and oh, I love you, and then it would have been a red flag for me. But when you know, you know.
Yeah, and my wife had to tell me, she was like, "You're having a hard time telling me you love me, aren't you?" And I was like, "Yeah, I knew." But that goes back to, and I like what you said, Sherry, but it goes back to something I said earlier, where I believe that they're gonna always be something that's a red flag in that person. Whether they're the one, there's always gonna be a red flag there. It's whether you can that red flag, or whether they're willing to make that a green flag. I use me for example. When I was wife, I had nothing. I couldn't get a piece of paper on credit. I had nothing. I was on unemployment. I had a car that had black smoke coming out the back. When I hit the gas, had nothing. She saw something in me that was a red flag for her. But she saw further than the red flag, and she stayed with me. She married me, and that red flag to a green flag. Now almost everything is, got 2 cars, business. And so it depends on how severe, how red the flag is. And if it's a flag that you can say, you know what, that's a red flag, but out with God, I think. But you got to go to God about this. I want to say, ask God to show. I tell women all the time, ask God to show you that man's heart for you. It's a question. Ask God to show me his heart for me. And then when God shows you he has a good heart for you, then you can go past that red flag, because you can help him turn that red flag into a green flag.
And you need God and therapy, because some of those red flags have a lot to do with trauma. You got to find out why there's a red flag. Don't just say there's a red flag and then you distance yourself or you go ghost.
Yeah, you got to address it. Yeah.
That red flag is there. And it may be from past trauma. It might be fear of vulnerability. It could be different things why that red flag is there. And so you need someone to help you navigate through the red flag to see if it's a red flag for a reason.
That's a good point. No, Sherry, that's a good point, because even you can have somebody like Nate said who is a red flag, but the question is, what are you doing about the red flag?
Exactly.
Right? Listen, everybody got some problems and some issues, but are you doing anything to correct it?
And do you even know how to correct it? Because a woman or a man can lead you out of that red flag, and they see that possibility, like Nate said, and they can help you through it. But first of all, they got to know. You got to be vulnerable enough to let them know why that red flag is there, so they can help lead you out of it. Or you can say, as a woman or a man, you can say, hey, you know what? I see this possibility in this person. I know why they're acting like this. I know why this red flag is there. these are the things I need to do to help bring them out of it. Or
Yeah.
this is what, just know within yourself to do it. But sometimes you need God, sometimes you need therapy, sometimes you need both.
Maybe both. And also the person that has the red flag has to be willing to do the work to make sure that red flag is fixed permanently. Because if they don't, if you just say, okay, like remember I said, a man will be what you want him to be and he'll do what you allow him to do until he can't do it no more. So if he don't fix flag, or he'll flag it, camouflage like he's fixing it. But you got to be able to see that and you got to go through the process. Like you said, therapy. That's when my wife said, you know, we need to go to financial class and we're going to premarital counseling. And that's what a red flag was like. Okay, I talk to this, I can work on this, I can do this. And I did the things because I really wanted to fix it. So now I'm not going back because that flag was something that I turned green and it's staying green. And I made sure I changed the material on that flag and old material away.
Okay, that's good.
What
That's
do
good.
you do? What do you do if the person, you notice the red flag in a certain person, but they don't seem to think that they have that problem?
You got to be real with them. If they keep denying it, then that's another red flag right there.
Yeah.
If they keep denying it, they can't fess up to it, and sometimes they may not know how. They may not think it's a red flag because of their atmosphere, because of their environment, because of how they grew up, the people around them, who their friends are. That may be something where that's why I said you got to go to God, and like Sherry said, you got to go to therapy. And if they're willing to do those things, then let the therapist, let God show them that they have the flag, because you can't make them change it. God's gonna have to change them, and then therapist is gonna have to change them. And they got to.
Well, I have a question with that real quick though, and I guess either you, Mr. Holloway, or Ms. Simmons can address it. So, to your point, Ms. Simmons, you're saying like if you see a red flag in someone, but they don't see it in themselves and they don't want to address it, it's two parts to that. I feel one, if it truly is a red flag, that's when you have to do your own internal work and reflection and decide either this fits in my boundary box or it doesn't. And then you have to decide what you want to do for yourself. But the other part to that is the question that it raised in me when I heard you say it. Could it possibly be that it's just a red flag for you, not necessarily a red flag for that person's character, but just something that you don't want? And so in that case, that may be why they don't see it within themselves, because it may not necessarily be a red flag itself. It's just a red flag for your boundaries and yourself.
Right. And I see what you're saying, but and that's why I go back to how can you make that relationship work? If I'm listening, I want to go back to what Nate was saying. He had the red flag at the beginning, but his wife was willing to work with him. I'm not saying just dismiss someone because they have a red flag, but if you notice that they have this red flag that you don't like, and they may possibly be a good person, but they just have that one red flag that needs to get worked out. And you don't want to just dismiss them altogether. How can you go about, I guess maybe, like you said, it may be a red flag to me, but they may not think so. How can you, I guess that's where the communication comes in. It's you just have to be open and honest, like the self-centeredness that I stated. I guess I would have to say, you may have to just say, we've been out lots of times and I hear that you talk about yourself a lot, but I don't hear, are you really interested in what I desire? I guess that's where that communication comes in. The two would just have to communicate and talk it over, because they may not be a bad person. It's just that one red flag.
Princess said something key with that. She said you have to work on yourself, your internal self. If I'm getting that right, Princess, as you said. So if it's just a red flag that you don't like, and it's not really a red flag for them, then you got a choice to make. You got to either say, okay, that's just me, something I don't like. You got to either go with that person, but if you're going to be with that person, you got to fix you. You got to go internal, and you got to say, okay, that's just something for me. It ain't really a red flag for them. That's just something that I like. We have when I was dating, right? I had a no kid rule. If she had a kid, I wasn't dating her. I almost missed out on my wife because she had a picture on her Facebook of her and her niece, and they look alike. And I almost didn't say anything to her. But then I did, and I found out that was her niece. So it's just like you gotta say to yourself, you gotta be real with yourself. Am I being petty? Or is this something really that I can't deal with? And
Right.
then you gotta go from there.
It's
Yeah,
about
you know what?
your
And it also, so listen, look, it depends also what that red flag is, right? Because there are certain things, like put downs, right? Now you can find somebody very attractive, like they can just do it for you, and then they just slowly start saying these little things, taking these little shots, you know, saying things that make you feel dumb, like maybe even calling you dumb, or calling you stupid, or
They got to go.
Right.
and but Nate, to what you said, sometimes that's how people communicate back in their house, right? Maybe they bust jokes on each other. If you come from where I come from, people crack jokes on each other all day long, right? And so it made it challenging, for you for sometimes. And I know I don't know if y'all households and families and extended families is like mine. These people say whatever they want to say to you. They call you fat. They call you, they tell you you stink, like all kinds of rude things, and they don't find anything wrong with it. So if you come from that environment, they might not think that a put down is really something that hurtful, to you, and unless you really state it and they really understand it. So, but it's still a red flag. Like you said, it could be a red flag for you.
Yeah, and like you said, like we talk about the environment, but the thing with environment, though, like I said, they got to be willing to change it. Things like that. I think we were talking about for Vicky, like something that she just like, I just can't deal with that. His smile crooked. I can't do it. He scratches his nose with his left pinky. Every time he sneezes. Something like that. It's like, no, that ain't a red flag. That's a personal preference. But a red flag, like you said, if you constantly putting you down, that's something you got to sit down and talk about. Hey, you can't talk to me like that, because or serious stuff, that's why I say you got to determine, is this something I can get past? And once you determine that, you'll be good.
And
but wait, Nate, go ahead, Sherry.
No, I'm just gonna say that's the key. As a person who's been to a million so-called domestic violence calls, you hear somebody put somebody down, and you like, hey, don't talk to her like that. And the woman look at you and say, "That's my husband. He can talk to me however he want to talk to me." Wow. So it's your non-negotiables, because somebody who come from a household where they're used to a man talking to them like that may think that person loves me. Oh, that person, unless that person is talking to me like that, that person doesn't love me. So it's individualized. It's what you're willing to put up with. What are your negotiables and your non-negotiables? Because Miss Vicky, I want a man to look me down, up and down and up and down, because that's gonna show me that he's interested in me, rather than him to distance himself and peek over at me. But that's my personal preference.
Right. That's what I was gonna say. That's an individual thing, right? Everybody have their own individual preference on how they go about getting or choosing a mate. And don't get me wrong, I understand that attraction with guys is, that by sight is, but what I'm saying is this coming the wrong way. It just coming the wrong way, just not being gentleman, not being a gentleman, just kind of, hey, baby, stuff like that. That just turns me off. You have to come in the room. You can come in with confidence and let me know that you're interested. But I'm talking about all this extra talk about this whole, you know what I'm talking about. I don't like all the job talk. The job talk. That term.
Talking that jive.
Yes, I don't really think you're ready to move into a serious, not just so much serious, but a committed relationship. And a lot of times, a lot of guys just may be their way. They may just be like that. They may not know another way to come about. They think that, hey, they think that may be attractive coming that way, but not always. Some ladies look at gentlemen how it's just an individual preference, like I said. Some guys may think that ladies like that. Some do, some don't.
Okay. All right. Well, Princess, give the ladies some attraction tips. Give us some of your best tips on how to make yourself attractive, whether you're single or married or whatever. Like how teach these ladies how to put it on. Give it to them.
Well, one of the things, and I think you already said like one of the most important things, because you'd be amazed at how many things I have gotten or gotten my way in, no matter the capacity, just through the eye contact and the softness in the eye contact. You can't just be looking at them just to look. There has to be a softness to it. And that will get you very, very far. That's first and foremost. Men love, even though.
Hey, my thing froze up. Oh, okay. Look, can you stop right there for a minute? and it's the you mentioned about the softness, the feminine softness. Dig a little deeper on that right there, because I think as a man, I think that's a woman's superpower, because listen, femininity is undefeated. It has worked for thousands of years, and it'll work for thousands more.
Taking some of the breaks down.
So I'm going to tell you with me, and I'm just going to share a little bit of my personal experience to give context to that. So you're talking about somebody who has several advanced degrees, who has several advanced certifications, who has globally traveled, an international speaker. I'm like very highly achieved, right? But when a man is courting me, I don't bring none of that into the conversation at all. And I could know if a man is trying to teach me something, I could know a better way than what he's already telling me, because I could be experienced in that area, but he will never know it. I sit there, I listen, I allow him to lead, I allow him to guide, because that's the type of man that I want in my life anyway. I don't want to be superwoman at home. And so it doesn't matter my level of accomplishment. I cater to what it is that I want. So I stay soft. I stay in my feminine era. I know how to work on cars. I could break a car all the way down and build it up because my father taught me. I could break a house down and build it up myself because my father taught me. But I will not lift a finger while the man who's dating me is around at all. I stay in my soft girl, my feminine era, because long as my man feels needed, then he's there and he's willingly offering up of himself. I had this woman, and I learned this from dating this one guy who I thought the world of, like broke my heart when we broke up. But the man, what I was not paying attention to while we were dating, because he had watched my Facebook profile, so he knew I had traveled everywhere, done a lot of things, all of that. But every time he would give me a gift, the gift would come with an apology. He would always say, I would have got you something bigger, or I would have did this, or I would have did that. And I would always say, why are you apologizing? I love it, because I did. And it wasn't me faking. I actually loved everything this man did, because I loved this man. But however, ultimately our relationship ended, and it ended with him saying he just felt like no matter that I felt he was enough, he needed to feel like he was enough. And so one of the things that I did do, I went through my online social media. I took down a lot of the things. Now I still have accolades listed. I didn't lose myself in it. But what I did begin to understand is how I needed to show up to attract what it was that I wanted. And ultimately, men, they say they don't like a damsel in distress, but they do. And they show up for that because they need to feel needed.
Yes. Good stuff. Nate, talk to us. Give us give the ladies some tips on attraction. And actually, no. I'm sorry. How about the men? Like give the men some tips on how to be more attractive out here, whether they're single, they're married, whatever it is, whatever their status is. As a man, how can they be more attractive?
Well, we talked about it earlier. You got to be confident. You got to be confident in who you are, and difference between confidence and arrogance. Okay. Confidence, women love a man who's confident, but they can't stand a man who's arrogant. Because arrogant men, it's like Ms. Vicky said earlier, it's all about them, and he's not going to pay attention to the ladies. So it's all about confidence. You got to be confident. You got to learn how to communicate. You got to. You got to learn how to communicate. One of the biggest things for women is communication. We talked about this on my podcast a couple of weeks ago, an episode where, you come home, men, we come home. A lot of times we not talking. We just want to come home, sit down, chill. We not talking about our day. Your wife come home, she needs to tell you about her day. She needs to tell you how she feels. She needs to tell you what's going on in her mind, in her head, whether she got talked to crazy at work today. She needs you to hear her. So we gotta learn the art of communication and the art of listening, because that's going to be success. Because a woman will tell you what she wants, but you gotta listen and you gotta pay attention.
That's good. All right, Sherry, you're up. Give our ladies some really great advice on being their most attractive selves.
Being your most attractive self, I would say have positive energy. Make yourself approachable. A lot of women say they want to date someone, but anytime a man approaches you, you turn up your nose, or you're not smiling. You have to look and be approachable. And I hate when people say be somebody's piece, but I get what you're saying when you say that. But in communication, no one wants to be around a nagger. So make sure you're communicating and not nagging, because there's a difference.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Vicky,
Okay.
how about give the ladies a good piece of advice when it comes to being their most attractive selves?
The steps that I would say to be your most attractive self is to always walk out the house like you're ready to capture the world, and be in expectation that you may find that person that you are looking for. But in order to do that, you have to be dress yourself accordingly. I don't like to throw off a lot about the bonnets and stuff like that, but I know a lot of time, a lot of ladies, they say, okay, I'm just going to the mailbox, I'm just going to the grocery store. So what is it with my bonnet? I say, still have yourself looking decent, because you never know who you may find at the grocery store, or just even going down, going to your mailbox, checking your mail. So I would say your attire, your dress. Secondly, be purpose driven. Be goal driven. Let the guy know that you are a valuable person, and you want to be valued. You want to be listened. You want to be heard by him. You want him to value you, and you must have purpose in order to attract the right person. And I want to go back. This is just something I promised my coworkers that I was going to ask. We had a conversation at work, and this going back to what Princess was saying about the man leading. You were saying when you went out on a date with your husband, you didn't let him know that you had the masters and all this stuff. But we were talking one day at work, and this young lady said that she just recently bought her a new house, and the guy has a house as well. So they're thinking about getting married. She don't want to give up her house. She don't want to give up her house. She wants him to move in with her, but the guy himself said, hey, I'm the man. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to move into her house. She's going to have to come move in with me, because he wants to feel like he's the man. He don't, he wants to lead. So I just want to get y'all, your thoughts on that. Nate,
I'm gonna tell you, it's not that he just wants to be the man. He wants to lead. He wants to be respected. He wants his castle He wants his home, and he wants to feel like he's taking care of her. So yes, she bought her house, but his house may be the better house. It may not be, but it's a thought of him being. And when I say it, I'm saying as a domineering thing. It's about him being a king in his castle, and he's not confident enough yet to know that when he gets in her house, that she's not going to throw out, well, this is my house. I bought this, you know. So it's not about, he wanted to be the man and run things. It's about that respect factor with him, and him knowing that in his house, he sits on the throne, and not in a domineering way. It's in his position. Positionally, he's the man in his house, and he's the leader of the atmosphere of his home. That's what
You
that
know
is.
what? I've been there, done that situation where my husband and he did not want to move in my house. I did not want to move in. We came to a middle ground, and we both got rid of our houses and bought another house
That
together.
was what I was gonna say.
Because I understood that, when you're already self-made or self-sufficient as a woman, a man may not feel like he's taking on that provider role if he has to move in your house. So there has to be a happy medium, and the happy medium may be we both just get rid of our homes and buy a home together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
But
look, you can build a house that's twice as good. If you got two houses, you sell two houses, you can get you a really nice. You might be able to get your dream
Right.
house
Yeah.
with
my thing
the
has
selling
always
of two
been we're
houses.
going to live wherever my husband can afford for us to live, because that's came up in conversation for me. Well, you make X amount of dollars a year, so like, wouldn't you want the bigger house? And my thing is, no, my husband is the head of the house. We're going to live in whatever house he can afford. So because I want my husband to always feel like the head of his home, to feel like the lead. And I wouldn't dare like make a financial decision that would put my husband in distress on trying to keep up with a lifestyle that he can't keep up with. And so if I
But
love that man and he can only afford $150,000 house, and that's the house we're going to live in. That's just always
with
been my perspective.
with that too, I understand what you're saying with that. I'm gonna put that in another way. My wife makes 3 times what I make. My wife is a strong-willed woman. She's opinionated. She's very successful. She's an executive at work. But one of the things that my wife does is she never makes me feel like I'm less than the man of the house. So so I tell everybody, when I mentor men, and I tell them this, when my paycheck hits the account, my money goes to the bills first. What's ever left over, then she put her money to it. So even though she makes more than me, I don't expect her to want her money to go to bills. My money go to the bills first. Leave me a couple $100 in my account and I'm good. But my money pays the bills first. Then whatever's left over, then she puts her money in. But she never ever once made me feel like I'm less than the king of my castle. She comes to me before every decision is made. She comes to me with the finance. We go over the budget. She said, "Babe, I want to do this. I want to go to school for this. I want to go back to get this degree. I want to do that." She don't say, "Well, I make more money, so I do what I want to do. It's my money." She said, "Babe, I want to do this. What do you think?" And 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna say, "Babe, do it. Go for it," because I understand who I am. I understand my purpose in the marriage. I understand my role spiritually and who I am. And the Bible says, Ephesians 5:12, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself for it. Meaning I have to sacrifice for her. He didn't tell her to sacrifice for me.
Right.
So I have to sacrifice my needs, my emotions, my those things. So I make the sacrifice and intentionality of making sure that whatever I do, whatever I make, even though she makes more than me, I don't care, goes first. And then so if she wants to live in a bigger house, we go ever, we can afford, but we do it combined. So whatever
Mm-hmm.
our combined income is, That's what we go and look for. That's how we do things.
So look, so one of the things I want to say too is what Nate just described is what he and his wife have decided will work for them.
Right.
Okay. Princess Faith just talked about what works for her. She gonna go live in a little matchbox. If that's all he can afford, she gonna go live in the hood.
He can afford. But to what Nate was saying, I totally agree with everything he said. But from a wife perspective, because one of the things that I say all the time is no man can make me a wife. No man, because the Bible says a man who finds a wife, which means I had to be a wife before a man found me anyway. And that's why I have that perspective. And I feel like part of being a wife is to not have my husband in situations where, for me, and like you said, what works for him and then what works for the other. For me, I've been one of those people who I'm just like, I'm not paying the mortgage. I'm not. If I'm married, and that, heck, some people do it combined, some don't. For me, I just have never desired to pay the mortgage if I'm married. So if my husband can afford 150,000, we're living in that 150,000, because for me, it's not about where I live or the materials that we have. It will never be about that. It will be about how can I be of service to my husband, and what allows me to be financially free enough to be of service to my husband while my husband makes the decisions for our family.
Hey, it's what it works. It works the way it works. So let me give I appreciate Vicky for introducing this new topic when I wasn't done with the last one.
I just had to get it
in. Man, you gotta get your own show. This is my how about you stay on my topic on my show? Thank you, Miss Vicky. One of the things as we wrap this up, I do want to talk about this idea of attractive. Tonight we've been talking about the art of attraction, and it is an art, right? It's an art. It's there. It's part science and it's part art, but it's a learning process. Okay, being attractive. And I'm gonna have you guys give me your last words as we get out of here. But I believe that it's about how you view yourself and how you see the world, and you radiate that out into the world, and people can pick up on that, right? You can tell when somebody really loves themselves. You can tell when somebody loves themselves too much. And everything is about them. They've been everywhere. They've done everything. Okay. And so they're everything can be done, overdone. But I really believe that, to our singles that are out there who are listening to this, for our guys, my tip to you to be your most attractive self, take a bath. Let's start there. How about you take a bath, right? Work on your hygiene. Get as clean as you can.
Weed is not a cologne.
Yes, weed is not a cologne. Okay. For in today's times, even if you're taking a woman out on a date, guys don't get dressed like men used to do in the 80s and the 70s and the 60s. Men used to get dressed. I remember even back in the day when somebody was going out on a date, it was obvious they're on a date. And the man, he worked all week. He wanted to get the freshest outfit. He wanted to walk into place and people be like, "Ooh, boy, where you get that from?" Right. But times have changed now. Women get dressed and men come to the date in a sweatsuit. Now they'll say, well, this is a designer sweatsuit. It's still a sweatsuit. Okay. But and even if let's say you don't have to wear a sweatsuit, but for men, you have to be clean. The biggest compliment, I guess, physically for a man, like a man don't have to be the most handsome guy. He don't have to be all those things, but if he's clean and he smells good, that's a good check mark. that a woman can work with. And so now look for you guys, and I want you all to get your answer together for the opposite sex, because I asked you all to give me your thought on being your most attractive self for your sex. Now I want you to give the opposite. And so for the advice I would give for women is understand this game. Nate talked about men are visual creatures. My advice, and I tell my actual clients this: get as fit as you can. Get as fit as you can. Work on your outer, work on your inner, work on your heart, work on your mentality. And so all of those things: physically fit, emotionally fit, financially fit, so that you become the most attractive that you can be. All right, Sherry, how about you? Give it, and then Sherry, give us tell the people how they can find you, how they can follow you, what you got coming up, and all of that.
I would say work on yourself from the inside out, because you can be the most attractive person physically, but if you have not worked on your inner self, you cannot attract the person that you want. So that's what I would say. But you can follow me at the Sherry G on Facebook, um, Sherry G Counseling on Instagram, and I've been working on several things. I just worked on a journal. Um, it is on Amazon under Sherry G, and authored several other books that you can also find on Amazon under Sherry Gilbert or either Sherry Gilbert Ramsey.
All right, all right. Vicky.
I would say for the men, be a gentleman. Treat the lady like a lady. Be complimentary. I would say it definitely, like you said, Kevin, be neat about yourself. I mean, because no, we're very, we do look at that, the neatness of a man. Be very confident. Don't put on any uh, fakeness. Just be who you are. Just be transparent. Be open. Treat like I want to be treated. Hold the door open for me. Uh, just do the things that a gentleman should do, and what and I think that's a good way of attracting a young lady. And again, my name is Vicki Simmons, and I am the author of the book Enduring While Single. This is my first book that I authored, and I have a passion for singles, so that's why I wrote this book. And in this book it talks about how to pursue relationships the godly way, pursue and maintain the godly way, understanding your value, loving yourself, seeking same life goals within your partner so that you can meet that person that you hope to have a life with. And you can reach me and you can find me. I have a website at authorvickisimmons.com. So if you want to purchase the book, you can go on there. I have Cash App and PayPal. You can go and purchase a book on authorvickisimmons.com.
All right, Nate, give it to us. Give the ladies some advice on being their most attractive self, and then tell everybody how they can follow you and what you got.
Okay, the biggest thing I want to say is we talked about this basically. Femininity is power. All right. No man wants a woman who's harder than he is. So, even though Sherry and Prince said, I don't know how I need Prince, how get you come up here build a house. Sherry, my car needs an oil change, and I'm just playing. But they said that even though they can strip a car down and put it back together, they're feminine. Men want to be needed. We want to be appreciated. We want to be respected, but in a feminine way. We don't want somebody that's gonna talk to us, yell and I got this. I don't need your help. I don't need you to open the door for me. I don't need no. And then Princess said it. She got master's degrees, aviation degrees, cyber degrees. You know, I'm making a joke, but it's true. You know, when you're feminine, your femininity gets you where you want with men, and when you're doing it right, when you're genuine with it, it gets you the right man. And so you can follow me on all social handles at I am Nate Holloway. My book is being revamped, but it's a book on fatherhood, the authority of a father's words to his son. It's a devotional for fathers and sons. I have a nonprofit for dads called and I also have a ministry where I do a Bible study on Tuesday mornings, um, um, called the Morning Boost with Keen Relationships, where I help men become the men they need to be for the women they're trying to reach. Married men, between 1 and 10 years, I help them build successful marriage. After 10 years, I can't help you because I've only been married 12. I stay in my lane. So between 1 and 10 years, men and couples have successful marriage. So that's me.
All right. Princess, talk to us.
Well, the first thing that I would say to men is get an intimate relationship with God and really study how God loves you, how God loves the church, so you could get an understanding of how you should love your woman, your wife. That's first and foremost. Heal, do the work to heal. Don't show up in a bunch of mess. And I'm not saying you have to be all the way put together. That's not what I'm saying. But at least be in the midst of doing the work. So you're not bringing mess to somebody else's life. And then you get to the outer side, the physical stuff. It is nothing like a beautiful smile, whether you're a man or a woman. So invest in yourself. Get those teeth fixed if you got to get those teeth fixed. Um, Invest in a skin routine. Like, we love that thing. We love beautiful skin and a nice smile. And like Kevin said, work out, get fit. Not just for a partner you're trying to attract, but also for yourself, because the more that you elevate yourself, the more you elevate what you attract. And that's my tidbit.
That's a fact. How can they follow you?
Oh, you can follow me on Instagram at Love Princess Faith. Also, my website is loveprincessfaith.com. The website, that's more of my public health sexology work, as well as what I do in intimacy, directing and coordinating, and TV, film, and live shows. That's what you'll find on the website. As far as my Instagram, right now, because we're in the midst of a consent forward initiative in Hollywood, I only have my professional picture, my book, Healing Hollywood, which talks about removing the casting couch culture and making Hollywood a safer place for creatives. And then I have one of my book reviews. And again, it's Love.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys all being here tonight. I'm gonna encourage everybody to go ahead and share this show out. I need everybody to hit that subscribe button on the show. You don't want to miss any of these. This is week 2, and week 3 will be just as powerful. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, then hit the like button, hit the bell, hit all the buttons so you can catch all of this good stuff. As far as what I got going on, you guys know you can follow me everywhere. Kelvin Troy Johnson. I run it up on TikTok. Got 300,000 followers there, and YouTube, TikTok, all these places. As far as events, I've got an event. Look, we just killing the game in February. I've got an event going on tomorrow. If you're in the Atlanta area, you need to come to this event tomorrow. It is cocktails and chemistry, a pre-Valentine's Day event. All right. So if you don't have a Valentine yet, come out, meet some people, have some fun. And we got some great deals on the drinks and food and all of that sort of thing. It's a it's a beautiful black owned establishment in Stone Mountain. And I would love for you guys to come. And so we got all kinds of stuff happening here this month, and I want y'all to be a part of it. So you can catch all of it on the website at lovecoachatlanta.com. As well, if you need to book a one-on-one coaching session, you can get me there. All my stuff is there on lovecoachatlanta.com, and that's where we do it. All right, panelists, thank y'all so much for being here. Thank you, audience, for being here. Till next time, peace and love. We'll see you next time.